He'd burned down my father's cabin. So, what happened? I remember standing in the clearing, staring at the blackened skeleton of what used to be my childhood sanctuary. The air still smelled like ash and memories. My father had built this place with calloused hands and quiet determination when I was just 7 years old. We'd spent every summer here for 15 years, fishing in the nearby stream, telling stories by firelight, escaping from my mother's cancer diagnosis and eventually her funeral. When Dad died last year, this cabin was all I had left of him. His will was simple. The cabin and the 2 acres surrounding it were mine. I'd planned to bring my own kids here someday. Now, all that remained were charred beams and melted windows. The fire marshal said it was definitely arson, accelerant patterns, multiple ignition points, but with no witnesses and no cameras for miles, the case went cold faster than the ashes. I might never have known who did it if not for a chance encounter at Miller's Hardware 3 weeks later. I was buying supplies, still determined to rebuild, when I overheard a conversation between 2 men, the taller one said, his voice carrying across the store. That decrepit cabin was bringing down property values in the whole area. The other man laughed nervously. Jesus, Marcus, you can't just say that out loud. Marcus Harrington, local real estate developer who'd been buying up parcels all around my father's land. He'd approached me twice about selling after Dad died. I'd refused both times. Now I understood why. I didn't confront him then. Instead, I followed him home that evening, memorizing the route to his sprawling lakeside mansion. Over the next few days, I learned his routine, his habits, his vulnerabilities. Marcus had a perfect life, beautiful wife, 3 kids in private school, a boat that cost more than most houses, and a reputation as a community pillar. I could have gone to the police with what I'd heard, but it would have been his word against mine. And in our town, his word carried the weight of money. So I decided to take a different approach. Then, I moved to phase 2. I hired a private investigator to dig into his business practices. It didn't take long to uncover actual irregularities, tax discrepancies, permit violations, worker safety issues. I anonymously reported everything to the relevant authorities. By month 4, building inspectors and IRS agents were regular visitors to his office. His development projects stalled. Investors pulled out. The bank began foreclosure proceedings on 3 of his properties. I claimed his lot. That was it. 6 months after I stood in the ashes of my father's cabin, I ran into Marcus at the gas station. He didn't recognize me at first. He was too distracted trying to get his credit card to work. When it was declined, I offered to pay. He looked up, embarrassed, and that's when recognition flickered in his eyes. "You're Henry's kid," he said quietly. I nodded. "I heard about your cabin. Terrible thing." I studied his face, now lined with stress and defeat. "Yes," I said. "Terrible when something you love gets destroyed by someone who just sees it as an obstacle." His face drained of color. He knew that I knew. "I've lost everything," he whispered. I paid for his gas and mine, then leaned in close. "Not everything," I said. "Just the things you valued." My father taught me that what matters most can't burn. I left him there, shell of the man he'd been. I drove to my father's land, where construction on a new cabin had just begun. This one would be bigger, stronger, built to last generations. And from its porch, you could see the auction sign in front of Marcus Harrington's foreclosed mansion, now worth less than half its previous value. Some would call it revenge, but I think of it as restoration, not just of my father's legacy, but of balance. Fire may consume, but from ashes, something stronger can always rise.